In section 2.2, we're going to be solving equations and multiplying and dividing. So what I want to talk about is first the division property of equalities. It says that if A is equal to B, then you can divide by the same amount on both sides. The same thing holds true for the multiplication property. If you have A is equal to B, then you can multiply by C on both sides and still have equal amounts. So let's get started on these problems. We're going to always draw that line down the equal sign, and then we'll divide on both sides. So when you divide, you're trying to create a 1. Negative 6 divided by negative 6 is a 1x, and so we get x by itself. 18 divided by negative 6 is a negative 3. You can still check your solutions by plugging in your answers. Negative 6 times negative 3 is a positive 18, and you know it works. On the next problem, we're going to get c by itself by dividing by 1.2, which is the opposite of multiplying. When you take a negative divided by a positive, you get a negative. When you divide 1.44 divided by 1.2, you end up getting that 12 goes into 14 one time, 12 goes into 24 two times, so you get the answer 1.2. Again, this should be reviewed for you, so I'm going rather quickly. If it's not reviewed, then you need to bring up this information to me in class. Divide by negative 5, divide by negative 5, negative divided by negative is a positive. So I'm always just doing the opposite, creating 1 here. We're trying to get the variable by itself, so we're looking at the right-hand side. We'll be dividing by 4. Now 9 doesn't go into 4 evenly. You can make it a decimal, but what we'll do is we'll just leave it 9 over 4. You can make it an improper fraction if you wanted. Again, I'm just going to leave it 9 over 4. Here's a multiple choice problem for you. We're going to get the v by itself by dividing by negative 3 on both sides. When we do so, we get 5 over negative 3, which is negative 5/3. As we work through some of these other problems here, now we have n on top, and we're dividing by 7. The opposite of dividing by 7 is multiplying by 7. There's actually 2 ways to do all these problems. Okay, negative divided by a positive is a negative, and when you multiply, you get 8.4. Now, I just mentioned that there's more than one way to do these problems. Here's the other way that I like to focus on, is making a fraction, having a fraction on one side and making the other side a fraction. Then what you can do is just simply cross multiply. 1 times n is n, 7 times this is negative 8.4. Notice either way you get the same answer. I'm going to use the cross multiplying method more than anything because it's using the word terminology that I'm sure you've heard before, proportion. We have a fraction equals a fraction. If you cross multiply, you get y is equal to negative 6 times 5, which is negative 30. The next problem, again, it's really easy when you just use that cross multiplying method. You've got 1 times r, which is r, and negative times a negative is a positive 90. So the answer is A. On the next problem here, again, just use that cross multiplying method. 1 times m is m. 1.5 times 3 is 4.5. Again, I know that I'm going rather quickly through these, and you may not be copying down on the questions, but if you've got the actual idea behind it, don't feel like you need to write every single one down. This next problem looks different. Let's make it look more of the same. Let's go ahead and put our z on top because that's really where it is. It's z over 1, so it's 9z over 4 equals 10. Then we can make this 10 over 1 and cross multiply and solve. 1 times negative 9z is negative 9z. 4 times 10 is 40. Now we have one more step here because I had number on top and bottom. So I'll divide by negative 9 on both sides to get z by itself. And 40 doesn't go into 9 evenly, so we'll just say it's negative 40 over 9. In this next problem here, I have, can just cross multiply again. 4 times negative 6 is negative 24x. 1 times 1 is 1. Now I don't have the x by itself again, so we're going to have to get the x by itself by dividing by negative 24. Those cancel, and I get x is negative 1 over 24. It's not negative 24 because the 1 is on the top. It is negative 1 over 24. So we are starting to see more of these where we've got a few more steps. The other thing you could do on these problems is if you don't want to do the cross multiplying, which is what I like to do, is you can multiply by the reciprocal. So you could multiply by the reciprocal, that gives you a 1, and then you could cross reduce here and get, or just get 60 over 3, which is 20. This is another way of doing it. Using that proportion method always works. You can always cross multiply like this. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3x. 4 times negative 15 is a negative 60. And then you can finish this off by dividing by negative 3 on both sides, which gives you x is 20. Alright, taking a break at this point in time, you can go back and review and make some questions on anything that you need to. We'll finish it up on the second video.